Support can be anything that feels supportive. Support can be taking a stroll to a nearby park. Support could be calling a friend. Support could be going to therapy. Support could be whatever support is for you. And I say layers of support because I mean not just one thing you do for yourself to have support. I mean layers and layers and layers. I mean, do all the things.
Yeah.
Let yourself be supported, let yourself receive help. So important. We think we can do it alone. If you're anything like me, you're a very independent person from a young age. Like, I can do it on my own. I don't need nobody's help. Get help.
Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, dear listener. Today's guest is someone whose work lives at the intersection of art, energy, intuition, and deep healing. And her story is one that lands in the body, not just the mind. I'm sitting down with Noga Shefi, a musician and healing arts practitioner whose life took a dramatic turn in 2010 when she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. What began as a medical crisis became a full spiritual and creative initiation into subtle energy work, nervous system healing, meditation, gut-brain connection, dream work, retreat life, and the kind of inner transformation that doesn't just change your health, it changes your entire way of being. 15 years, countless trainings, and an entirely new relationship with her body later, Noga now supports sensitive creatives in healing, regulating, and reconnecting with their innate wisdom. And what I love about this conversation is how seamlessly she weaves her musician self and her healer self together, not as separate identities, but as two expressions of the same inner frequency. We talk about sensitivity as a strength, creativity as medicine, healing as an art form, and the specific practices that helped Noga reclaim her health and her voice. Let's dive in. Noga, I'm so happy that you and I have reconnected after meeting several years ago. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with me.
Thank you, Anna, for having me. And yes, I'm also very happy that we reconnected.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I get to share our conversation with these listeners who may not have met you, some of them. So for those people who are meeting you for the first time here, could you share a bit about what you do, who you help? There's a variety of things you do. So
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, but I'm also a healing arts practitioner. I'll say sometimes healer, but I and other people have issue with that word sometimes because it's not I that heal the other. We
yeah.
hold space, we offer tools, and so on. So I'm a healing arts practitioner, and I practice coaching, and I practice biodynamic craniosacral therapy. And I also love teaching and guiding different experiences in the meditation and breathwork world.
Cool. And who do you do healing and coaching with? Is it mostly other artists? Is it anybody or
It can be anybody, but it seems that I attract people with similar experience to my own. So people in the creative world, um, just like the highly sensitives and the creative types. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I get that. And I get the confluence of those things, the highly sensitive and creative. Um, and this is not the kind of work that you come to purely for practical reasons. So I'd love to ask you to share, and I'm personally curious to know, what is the path that led you to the blend of work that you're doing now?
Yeah. So I'll try to make a very long story short. Um, my entry point to the path was a diagnosis with a physical condition that was very severe at the time. And I was told I'll suffer from it for life. And I was about
Wow.
20 years old, so it's like 17 years ago. Before that, I want to say I was like a normal person. I don't know what normal is, but Um, and so that diagnosis was really the thing that kind of got me into the path that I'm on. So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah.
But really, that's when I learned how to take care of my body, how to heal my gut, how to um, at the time, I was also struggling so much, like, it was debilitating, like, I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't digest
Yeah.
anything, um, was losing a lot of weight, and I'm already a very petite person, so it kinda, like, affected my whole life, like, my whole life couldn't continue, and now I know about myself that when I wanna figure something out, I really like to get to the bottom of it and really dive into some deep rabbit holes to understand what is going on, and that's kinda what happened when I
Yeah.
was 20. I was really just open. I didn't think of myself as a very open person at the time, but I wanted to solve this health crisis so bad that I was open enough to listen to people around me and to try anything that comes my way.
Mm.
And so on top of going to multiple medical, second opinions and trying alternative, different things, I also started getting into yoga and meditation, which at the time I had no idea why would that connect to,
Yeah.
my health, but I was ready to try anything. And pretty quickly I noticed really massive shifts through doing some really basic meditation stuff. And that was basically my opening into a path of all things spirituality, energy work, and energy healing and all of that.
Yeah, amazing. If so, I've had my own different, but, health journey, but there are aspects, certain threads that I can relate to. And I know in my own journey, which primarily centered around like a chronic migraine, in the thick of it, it was just like such a complex process, finding my way through that. But looking back, I can kind of say, like, this in a nutshell is like what helped me through. I'm curious if you have that, and if so, how would you describe it now at this point in life?
What exactly?
Like okay. I'm gonna back it up because I'm hearing, like, in my mind, I feel like I can hear listeners who are like, I can relate to some of the symptoms that you described, like, what was the magic bullet that finally worked? And this isn't how things actually are, but
Yeah,
how would
but
you
but
answer
I
that?
could try to encapsulate it
Yeah,
because that's why I'm struggle a little bit as I put my work out there as a coach and as a healing arts practitioner is that it seems like all of these different things might seem like I'm all over the place, but really it's different layers of our being that needs attention and healing.
yeah,
So there's the layer of your physical health and gut health. And I really had to learn how to eat and how to take care of my physical body. because now, we're all starting to understand that the gut health is kind of connected to all the systems in your body. It's your second brain, some would say even your first brain.
Mm,
It's connected to your mental health. It's connected to so many things. So gut health, figuring out how to take care of that was like number one. Like
yeah.
really just change my eating habits, my drinking habits, my smoking habits.
Okay.
um, and so that's one piece. And then another piece is really mental health and looking at thought patterns and whatever supports one on their mental health journey. And then there's the energetic health, which is, I think, well, I'm skipping a few because there's also emotional layer, right? Your emotional health,
Yeah.
and there's relational health, and there's so many different layers. But I think the energetic layer is the most subtle of
Yeah.
them all, but it's also could be the most powerful one because it binds all of the layers of your being together.
Mm,
So if you're able to tap into your energy system in any kind of way, and lots of different modalities and traditions do that. And for me, like yoga was the first entry point where I started to become aware of the different healing centers in my body, the energy centers in my body. So people call it chakras, and a lot of people think that's just like some woo-woo stuff. But but for me, like looking into the chakra system through the practice of yoga and through moving my breath through these different energetic centers kind of gave me a taste of like my energetic system.
yeah.
Later, that evolved over in so many ways because chakras are not the only things in your energetic system, and in craniosacral, biodynamic craniosacral work. Um, they look at a kind of quite different elements of your energetic system. So that's just me trying to encapsulate
Yeah.
and give people the answer. But yeah, it's
Mm,
energetic work plus mental health work plus healing your gut and your physical body.
yeah. And I think, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I think it's challenging to put words to energy because it is something experiential, and getting into relationship with your own energy is certainly reading books and hearing people talk about it can help you find your way in, but ultimately it's an experiential thing. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You started off in sharing what you do by saying that primarily you're an artist and a musician. How does that journey, like, relate or not relate? Does it run parallel? Are the 2 intertwined?
Um, they're definitely intertwined and they definitely support each other. I think without all the healing work, it would probably be really hard to do what I do. It's already kind of hard doing what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm blessed and fortunate and grateful, don't get me wrong, to do what I love and to pursue my dreams and to be in a field that could be really, really magical sometimes. At the same time, the actual lifestyle and reality of being a musician can be really, really harsh. It includes a lot of uncertainty. It can include a lot of burnout, and so the healing work has been super supportive. I wasn't in it for the support for my music life. I was in it
Yeah.
because I was sick and I needed to find a way to live at all.
Yeah.
But it ended up really supporting my whole life. So it's kind of just goes side by side. But music is
Yeah.
also healing too. So if I didn't have that, I would also probably be pretty miserable. So I need both.
I can really relate to that as well, because in my path, like, something I've spoken about on this podcast multiple times is that the the earlier couple of decades of my working life, I was always a creative for hire. First, I was a writer and working in, like, publishing and magazines, and then I worked in film and TV, mostly reality television as an editor. Um, but
No,
always wanting, what's that?
I didn't know that piece.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Because we met through the healing arts.
No, I
So
knew you
yeah.
worked in TV. I just didn't know it was reality, that you did a
Yeah.
lot of reality TV.
10 years editing reality TV shows. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's the most significant chunk of my career to date. And but I always wanted to be expressing my own voice, while working on other people's projects. And it really wasn't until I developed the chronic migraine and then had to like find a way through that and found mind body medicine and this way of working with my nervous system and my energy that the only motivation was to like get rid of these damn migraine attacks, right? That it was like really out of desperation to solve what felt like a problem. But in finding my way through that, I found tools that made creative self-expression become a lot more sustainable. And particularly I found the rawness that can come up with and the vulnerability of letting my own creative expression be witnessed by others. I recognized like that this was something very intense for my nervous system, and having these tools to move through that intensity and regulate um, really changed the way I'm able to show up with my expression in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Nervous system regulation is so huge. And also, just hearing you talk just makes me think a lot about just self knowledge.
Yeah.
Just like whatever practice kind of helps you get to know yourself on a deeper level so that you can recognize what is actually going on that is blocking you or that's frustrating you or that's causing you to not feel well. Just kind of look at how you're operating on a deeper level, not just like how is my daily routine look like, but like how are my thought patterns, working and.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you were saying that, this funny image came to me. I live with 3 cats, and so I'm like very attuned with cat behavior, and I learn a lot from it. And they do this thing sometimes where like suddenly they see their own tail, and it's like they don't realize it's their own tail, and it freaks them out, and they're like going nuts. And I feel like that was kind of a metaphor for how I would respond to my own body sensations or emotions before doing this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you brought up earlier this the word highly sensitive, and you and I had chatted before getting on this recording recently, and we were talking about like that um sensitivity and creativity and the relationship between those things, I think. And it can really be like that sensitivity can be a bit of a double-edged sword for creatives. It can feed into our creativity, and it can also, be very difficult to navigate, like overwhelm and um, the way our body responds to sensitivity. Um, How do you navigate this this balance, and how do you help other people navigate this?
That's a good question. I think first thing is to have a little bit of a reframe that your sensitivity is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's actually your superpower. And I'm saying that as if I fully embody it. I'm still struggling from time to time, but just realizing that the your perceptive abilities and your unique creative outlook on things can serve other people. And yes, it's a double-edged sword in the sense that, things just touch you deeper, and that's for better and for worse. Um, we see a lot of artists that fall into addiction or different difficult mental health situations because as sensitive people we tend to take it all in, take it all on. I know for myself, like I take a lot of burdens, and I've done that not exactly consciously for a long time, taking things on almost like energetically. It's something I still work with, so I don't know that I'm an expert on the topic, but learning how to so this like the fine line between how do I stay compassionate since I can feel everything so deeply. I can feel the world suffering. I can
Yeah.
feel all the energies and all the dynamics in the room and I can feel,
Yeah.
all these different things inside of me and outside of me. Um and it can be overwhelming. But it's that thin line between how do I stay in touch with it without taking it on in a way that burdens me so much and brings me down so much, um, but not take it off and be completely disconnected and numbed out and completely detached from what's going on. So it's like this thin line that, we walk on. How do I stay in touch with the reality of how things are and have compassion while also not let that negatively affect myself?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a clear answer. Just that's just like something I've been working with for a long time.
And I think you're speaking really to the awareness of it, holding an awareness of the dance between those two. And I agree that while it can be difficult to navigate sensitivity, um, it really also is a superpower. And I know that a lot of folks who listen to this podcast experience sensitivity in various ways and identify as sensitive people. And I think it like you said, it can be it requires a reframe of what sensitivity is, that it's not just a negative thing. I think we get a lot of negative messages about sensitivity in this culture, society. And also we can have difficult experiences like physical symptoms and like, overwhelming emotions. But I'd love to hear what your experience is of sensitivity as a superpower or even like just something enjoyable or pleasurable. Like, how does that show up for you in your music, in your healing work, or like in whatever aspect comes to mind?
Oh God, that's a good question. Editor, give me a second here.
Yeah.
I think overall, just the ability that we have to create something of meaning and to offer support through the various healing modalities is a testament to the superpowers, the so-called superpowers, being able to tune into someone's field in a craniosacral session. Um, I don't know if I'd call it a superpower because it sounds a little pretentious, but, just for the sake of an example,
Maybe it's
making
like a
music.
heightened experience. I don't know. I know. I like you. I kind of struggle with the words healing and superpower. It's like it makes it sound so like like there's a power dynamic there or something.
Yeah. No, I just, superpower, I'm just thinking like Superman, or I'm thinking like turning water into ice with a flick of a finger or
Yeah.
something. That's not exactly that, but yeah. Sorry. I don't have the greatest answer for that.
No, but I connect with that. I feel like when I'm in a session with a client, it's not like every single second feels this way. It certainly doesn't. But there are those moments where you just feel like you're connecting with each other energetically, and there's something just very, I don't know, magical, pleasurable, like energizing about that experience.
I think also just the perceptive abilities that help you know yourself on a deeper level and be able to kind of sit with things that are really uncomfortable, that helps to hold space for other people's experience.
Yeah.
I love coaching people, and a lot of people think coaching that's like something, you know, that I come with an agenda and I have like a prescriptive list of actionable steps. But coaching is really, at least the way I studied it and the way that I practice and offer it to people, is really a container for people to find out their own solutions to their own things.
Yeah.
So just like a superpower of being able to be with whatever comes up. It doesn't sound like a superpower, but so many of us have unresolved issues because we can't face what is there because I don't know, we either don't have the support, don't have the tools, don't have the courage, or the capacity to just look at what's really going on.
Yeah.
So sometimes a space held for that in the right way can help the right piece float up to surface, be seen, be digested, be resolved. So,
The way you're describing that, I'm actually having a memory of the teacher our mutual teacher, which is how we met, Bridget Vixnans. I remember in my first training with her, she teaches, I don't know, how would you even describe what she teaches?
well, I like how she calls it. It's trauma resolution and embodiment of spirit.
Thank you. Um, I forgot her wording. Yeah, and I just remember her saying something that just was so simple, but it really was a helpful framework that she and I feel like you've been saying things and to this effect too, that you don't do the healing on the client or for the client. What you're doing is like creating the conditions in which their healing can unfold.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that looks very subtle on the outside. And it's taken me a long time, and this is still an ongoing process of realizing like it it's a lot more powerful actually when I do less than when I do more in holding space for a client.
Yeah, also from experience, when it's funny, you can have all the answers for someone, you can have all the solutions or all these perfect tools for someone to resolve something, but what's right for you might not be right for someone else. And if the idea came from you and not, I mean, sometimes I can have an idea and offer it and it would be beneficial for someone, no doubt. But that's not what my coaching is about. Like, I noticed that when I come up with my own solutions for my situation, for whatever problem I'm trying to solve, it's much more effective. And when people come up with their own solutions, that's what works best. Because
Yeah.
in the moment, and I catch myself doing that because I have to constantly keep my own agenda out of the way and
Yeah.
not offer any input that I have. I mean, I offer a little bit of input, but most of it I keep out because even if in the moment I'm with a client and I'm telling them something that they can do to help their situation, they're like, "Oh, that's a great idea, great, and I'm going to do that," and then they don't.
Yeah.
It's just it has to come from you, So it's interesting how it works.
It really is. I'm curious because so my experience both as like a client and also as a coach is that when I first come to someone else for help with something, and when someone else first comes to me, oftentimes like there's fear during that stage, and there's lack of trust with self. It's like, I can't figure this out on my own and I need help figuring it out. Um, and I see part of my work as being to support my client in gradually trusting themselves,
Mhm.
not in them like following, like you're saying, following my method, that works for me, but might not mesh for them. And regardless, like it's the process of discovery that is the work. A quick pause here because I want to invite you into something that I think could shift the way you feel about showing up. If you're a sensitive creative or entrepreneur, and the idea of being really seen and heard brings up fear, resistance, or that, oh no, not me feeling, you are in good company. My free visibility workshop, Let Yourself Be Seen, is all about making visibility feel safe to your nervous system and true to you. We'll explore how to work with fear as a doorway into more authentic self expression so you can share the work that matters most to you without pushing, pretending, or burning out. You can save your spot or catch the replay at annaholtzman.com/be seen. Okay, let's get back to the conversation. How do you support clients to getting into a place of trusting themselves?
That's a great question. Starting with what we just talked about, which is like not offering your own solutions right away.
Yeah.
I have a coaching framework that I do, coaching arc of a session, that helps a person get from what's the topic of today and how do we close the circle after an hour with a process that has happened around that, you know. And
Yeah.
I use different tools. So I spend a lot of time in my mental continuum, and I love to process things through talking, and I think it's important for people to also express themselves through their words and their thoughts. And side by side with that, I use somatic tools so that people also get into their body, stay grounded, regulate their nervous system so that they can make their next move from that place and not just from a heady mental place. So coaching is like could be like really fun and conversational, but I infuse into it different somatic healing elements so that it is also grounded in people's energy and people's body.
Are there specific like tools or techniques or methods that you're teaching? Some like somatic tools?
In my coaching, like it really depends who I'm sitting with, and it could be really as just a simple tuning into the body and seeing how you are in the moment. Like, how's your energy right now? Are you feeling heavy? Can you even feel your body? Can you tune into like one bone in your body? Can you feel the chair supporting you? And, starting from these very basic things and moving from there. But when it comes to specific tools, I also, is it the time to talk about my nervous system sorcery?
Yeah, please do. Yes.
Yeah, I just launched this I was about to say mini course, but it's not that mini. It's called Nervous System Sorcery, and it's basically I encapsulated all my favorite nervous system regulation somatic practices into one place. It's super affordable, by the way, so you can find it on my Instagram and stuff. But in there, it's basically 7 lessons, and the the educational portions are, like, very small because 'cause I'm not trying to, like, get too heady about it because so many of us are so good at understanding things intellectually.
Yes.
But I really, really wanted that to be super experiential, so there's a full guided practice, 7 full guided practices of different kinds. There's meditative, more stillness practices, and there's practices that are more include movement and breath and sound and voice, um and then, yeah, and like I said, other practices that are more still, more restful, resourceful, like, restorative type of practices. So I
Mm.
really I love that stuff. I'm so into it. I've been practicing all these things for so many years. So if people want to see like be actual guided in the full practices, it's all in there.
It's a
And
way
then
for
I
them to get an experience of it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then, in coaching, you get into little pieces of that during the session, but you don't do a full practice.
Yeah. You mentioned that voice is part of it, and that's just, like, an area that I happen to be really interested in these days is, like, where expression comes into the process. What for you, why is voice part of it? Like, what is that all about?
Voice is just a really powerful tool of healing, even in traditions, in Eastern traditions like yoga, they do a lot of chanting,
Yeah.
and chanting has so many great benefits, physical, mental, energetic, emotional benefits. It's not really even about being loud or speaking your mind or anything. It's just about using your own voice, um, your own vibration. You're using phrases, using words, using mantras or anything like that that has a resonance that can be really, really supportive. I'm not like a vocal
Yeah.
coach or like a voice expert, but yeah.
But and your other work is in, like, the expressive arts in music where you're making sound. I think
Mhm.
when I first started learning about, like, somatic work and, um, things like meditation and yoga, which are not my don't happen to be my areas of, like, deep practice, but I thought of, like, healing work as sort of being silent and going inward, and certainly that can be an aspect of it. Um, but yeah, it took me a while to understand that expressing and externalizing is a big part of getting our energy back into flow.
And also just experiencing life along like amongst other people in relationship to other people is a
Yeah.
huge part because yeah, I myself spent a lot of time in isolation and silent meditation, and then you have to at some point get out there in the world and actually make your relationships work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
For
no.
some people it's actually easier in solitude. Some people can't stand the thought of being alone and not talking to anyone. Some people find great relief in that. So
Yeah. You mentioned that, that the work you do in coaching specifically, it's not about imposing your solutions, it's helping others find their own solutions, and I've found the same thing, of course. Have you ever been, like, totally surprised about where a person's path took them and, like, maybe it took them in a totally different direction than what you would have where you would have gone for yourself or what you would have imagined?
not really. I mean, things have been revealed that I wouldn't think would be the thing, but it's not hugely surprising. It's usually just somebody's own deeper wounding and
Yeah.
them seeing it more clearly.
I guess when I asked that question, I was thinking of a specific experience I had much earlier on in doing my work when at a time when my work was still focused on chronic pain recovery, and I was deeply into journaling. I'm still deeply into journaling. That's my pathway in, right? But at the time, I was very earlier on, I was convinced that this was the pathway. And, if someone wasn't connecting with journaling, I just had to present it in a new way or, like keep turning it around to a different angle. And I worked with this one client in particular comes to mind where I got to a point where I was like, this is feeling coercive what I'm doing. Like this is just not connecting for this person. Like why do I keep pitching this journaling thing? It's just not landing and something's starting to feel wrong about continuing to try to bring it in. And I found with that particular client, it was really like the pathway that opened for them was really more about like stopping doing all the practice because they were like kind of into rule following and like doing all the practices that they heard would help. And what shifted things finally was just like throwing it all out in the garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be super, super disciplined, and then I realized that sometimes you go too far with it and you have to kind of break all the rules and be like, now I'm gonna go without routine, without rules for a while and like, yeah, try different things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a diet could be something, not a diet to lose weight necessarily, but like as being on a specific diet for healing, for example, can be very good for you. And then it can also kind of fuck with you
Yeah.
mentally sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if you have a kind of a history of some kind or ancestral patterns of starvation or I don't know,
Yeah.
different things that can
Restriction.
really, yeah. So kind of have to find how much because I'm big on discipline. I think it gives you a lot of freedom, and I think committing to a daily thing over a long period of time is absolutely life changing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's not always time to be this disciplined, or there's different ways to go about your routines and
Yeah, just like a relationship, if we try to force the same thing, the same pattern in a relationship without attuning to what's present, it
I was just thinking about my relationship with my partner as you were talking earlier because I was thinking
yeah,
how all of these tools that we have to work with clients are really, really just helpful in real life. You know, you
yeah,
go to a friend or a family member or something, you tell them what's going on, and like sometimes you don't want input, you don't want their solution, you don't, sometimes you just want listening, sometimes you do want to hear their take. It's like um, and sometimes we want to support someone to make a positive change in their life, but whatever we gotta say is not. It's just. It's not gonna go in.
yeah, yeah, exactly, it's not gonna
So
be absorbed.
actually giving people like a lot of freedom and just being supportive to your friends, to your family members, being there for them and being supportive without kind of telling them what they should do and how they should do it.
Yeah,
And you see just transformation can happen on its own. Sometimes, not always. But I know maybe people out there are like, you don't know my mother. But we can't change people, but we can be there for them.
yeah, absolutely. We're coming to that time in the conversation where I have this set of 3 final questions that I like to ask consistently and then hold them open to the the different unique answers that come. And the first of those questions is, if there's sort of like a soapbox message or I don't know, a value or a belief that is infused into all the work you do, whether it's music or coaching or craniosacral or just being a human in the world at this moment in your life, what would you say that through thread is?
There's a couple of things that come to mind. One is support and layers of support. Something that took me too many years to realize the importance of.
Yeah.
Support can be anything that feels supportive. Support can be taking a stroll to a nearby park. Support could be calling a friend. Support could be going to therapy. Support could be whatever support is for you. And I say layers of support because I mean not just one thing you do for yourself to have support. I mean layers and layers and layers. I mean, do all the things.
Yeah.
Let yourself be supported, let yourself receive help. Um, Huge. So important. We think we can do it alone. If you're anything like me, you're a very independent person from a young age. Like, I can do it on my own. I don't need nobody's help. Get help. It doesn't have to be traditional talk therapy. Whatever help is for you, go to a group, go to a thing, go to a meeting, go to a whatever, talk to friends more often. So layers of support. And then the other thing would be just find what is your own way. I wouldn't even say the word practice. Just find your own way of connecting with yourself slow in a I want to say in stillness. It doesn't have to be stillness, slowness maybe. And it doesn't have to be like a huge hour-long commitment. Just find a thing that you do for yourself every day where you are just with yourself that feels supportive.
And for the folks who are listening to your story, your own path of self-discovery, the way that you work with others, and this encouragement to accept support, which I think we don't hear enough. There tends to be a lot of shame around needing support or reaching out for it. So for the person who's hearing this and they're feeling called to find that safe place where they can start to get into a deeper relationship with themselves, but maybe they're feeling scared or they don't know where to start or it feels confusing because after all, we're saying there's no one clear path and that might feel overwhelming. What word of encouragement do you have to that person?
I would trust you, person out there, that if you tune in for a second, you might have some kind of a little intuitive inkling towards something. If you just take a moment, close your eyes, take a breath, there might be something that comes up to mind that you heard somewhere or you feel a little bit of a curiosity about. We are in this incredible age of the internet, so we all have access to a lot of information. So anything that you think you might be interested in, you can look it up and you can find more info about it. You can find a person that does that or whatever. I don't know what that is for the person, but think if people tune in, they'll find something that they
Yeah.
feel a call towards.
Trust that inner pull. Thank you so much, Noga. Finally, where can people find you? And you mentioned before the course that you're offering. Can you just say again where they can find you online, since that's probably the
Yeah, so
easiest way?
you can find me on Instagram. That would be the easiest way. Noga Shefi, Noga.Shefi. It's Noga. My last name is S like sunshine,
Hmm.
Hef like Frank, Noga Shefi. And on my Instagram links, there's all the links to everything, including coaching options, including my own podcast, Your Healing Era, which I'm going
Yes.
to have Anna on very soon. And over time, I'm also going to put out a few more educational pieces around gut health, around mind training, heart training, and on my links and my Instagram.
Beautiful. And I'll put all those links in the show notes, of course. Noga, it's so lovely to connect with you again. I'm going to get to see you in person soon. I'm looking forward to that.
Me
And
too.
yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.